I'm on fire.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back for another episode of the 5-Year Pod. It's me, Suddy, and this is Shyam. We will be reviewing the weekend's action from the Premier League, and what a weekend it was at Leicester. Well, Spurs was top for about 2 seconds, and then Leicester going on top. Southampton at the start of the weekend were top. This is shaping up to be potentially the most entertaining season ever. I can't think of
absolutely chaotic.
We've had entertaining finishes, Sean, with Leicester and Aguero's famous goal, United back in '99, I think it was, and Blackburn in '95. But we've never had a season just continuous entertainment. Why do you think it's been so entertaining? Before we get into the games,
I think it's almost as if everybody's stress level seems to be quite elevated. The no lack of time between games seems to have really made everything quite tense, if that makes sense. Liverpool started obviously the weekend in front, then Southampton came, then Leicester came. I think Tottenham were there as well. Or was it Tottenham and then Leicester? And then Liverpool could have got top again if they beat City. So very chaotic. I think somehow, even though they did have the 3 months off with the COVID break, finishing the season and then not really having a break and then having major tournaments afterwards, it just seems to have heightened the tension around every game. And I think there's a lot less time for coaches to work through tactics and work through strategies. So they're becoming a lot less philosophical based and with ideas and really just trying to get results this season. And so it's leading to a lot more chaos and to teams perhaps really pushing strategies really hard as opposed to sticking to their philosophies, if that makes sense.
Because even if you look at City relies on fitness and concentration. That's what Pep's 1-2 pass, 1-2 pass, 1-2 pass, and with fatigue comes poor concentration, comes injuries, and someone if Pep can't do it, I think, and even Klopp for that matter, I don't think Liverpool are playing anywhere near they were playing last year, 2 years ago. You're 100% right. Fatigue, concentration, and that's interesting because the more basic styles of football, the Villas, the Evertons, who are not, I wouldn't say they're playing intricate football. They're playing high percentage football in the sense they're throwing 10 darts and hopefully 2 sticks. And those two goals would be better than the no goals that the other team scores. And that's where I see kind of Villa, who've come up to the top table, Leicester City, who've always played very direct football.
It's an interesting point because teams that have played together, so if Liverpool's players have really been together around, this is sort of their 3rd season together. Leicester as well, same core of players that, a lot of them won the title back in the day. Tottenham as well, under Pochettino. Bale's come in, obviously, but it's his first game in the league. Apart from that, it's a lot of very similar players. So teams that have had some continuity are getting the results of that. Yeah.
Speaking of continuity, I think Pep obviously hasn't, and we'll get to the City Liverpool game, which just as an overview, I thought City should have won this. Not based on the penalty that he missed, but I just thought they played a little bit better. And even the goal they gave away was very silly. If you look at the shots, it looks a lot even than it was, in my opinion. What did you think of the game?
I think City kept the ball better, which is to be expected with a Guardiola side. The first penalty, it's like we can talk about the same thing in the Leicester Wolves game. The way that they're giving penalties now, I'm not sure they're taking into account the fact that players can't think. The ball's played into their hand. And I did think, a draw, I think a draw is fair enough, but on the balance, if one team was to be, to win the game, you'd probably think City was to win it. I think they played better than Liverpool, and like I said, they kept the ball better, but just weren't able to take home the points.
I thought that Diaz and Laporte backline, so the 2 centre backs. By the way, I think Cancelo is very good, and you've said it before, and I just haven't really seen how good he actually is. And he's a very good player, very intelligent player, very potent going forward. But I think
first time I saw him, I thought he was a winger. I actually thought he was a winger because he was so.
Well, I bought him on FIFA like 3 or 4 years ago from Roma, and he is a winger.
Okay.
So, and that backline there, I thought was quite good, and De Bruyne very unlucky, but God, he's a good player. I thought he played so well.
That back 3, Edison, Diaz, and Laporte, you'd be hard pressed to find a better back 3 than that. Quality player. And a lot of quality around him as well. Yeah.
And when you come down, I think Gomez has now shown that he's not quite ready to be the lead in defense. And that would mean that Liverpool are probably going to go buy in January, buy someone a bit older who doesn't mind sitting on the bench when Van Dijk comes back, or potentially take over Joe Gomez, because I don't think he's quite ready.
It'd be interesting if Matip can do that because he's old enough. They'll probably give Matip until January to prove that he could be that leader. But you're right, Gomez has got the old, can Robin become Batman type syndrome? Can he be that leader, or is he just a really good footballer? And he's young. Yeah. It's not to blame him.
No, absolutely not. No.
It's just that when you go from either number 2 to number 1, it's a step up.
But if you look at the best defenders in England, let's look at the best 2 or 3, which would be Tony Adams. Well, I'll speak more modern times. So Rio, John Terry, and who else would you say?
Company? Yeah.
No, I'm talking about English defenders.
Oh,
so
English,
let's say Rio and Terry.
Yeah,
I mean, they were thrust
into. I always read it.
Ledley King.
Yeah.
But he could have been world class. I have a Twanzebe feeling about him. I just hope it doesn't turn out that way.
Okay, so the fourth one would be Twanzebe. Yeah, my man.
Yeah. Those guys, when they were given that responsibility at 22, 23, they stepped into it, became captains, became leaders of their, and I think that's what a good defender is going to do. And what I think is happening now, because I think he has the world-class physical aspects. He's fast. He's good in the air, generally very strong. I think this could be the start of him stepping into that role, because he's dependent on older brother Van Dijk for the last 2 seasons. Yeah. As you should. He's the best player in the world.
Oh, when you play with the best in the world, you try and fit around them. But now the team is going to fit around him. It'll be interesting because City in general are missing Aguero, so they're not really scoring as much as they would. And Liverpool are missing Van Dijk, so they're probably conceding more than what they would like. So it'll be interesting to see how both of those teams adjust. But Liverpool has that challenge. Gomez has got the opportunity to really step up. And it's interesting you talked about Terry and Ferdinand stepping up into those roles at young ages. Terry became a captain very young at Chelsea. And Rio, particularly at Leeds, started becoming a leader in that team before he came to United.
I remember that.
And they were both seen as quite sort of temperamental in their teenage years. It was almost as if they were itching for responsibility. And then really stepped into it. So it'll be interesting to see how Gomez steps into that chair, because Liverpool kind of need him to do it now, really.
Yeah, and that leaves Liverpool in third. Not a terrible result, man. Like in the kind of grand scheme of things, City still in 10th.
You go away to City and draw. It's not the end of the world.
No, it's definitely not. And look, City and like United, like Arsenal, are still in the kind of bottom half of the table. It's still, I do believe it's going to pan out well, but for City and United especially, we'll get to United next game. They play each other in 2 games' time, and maybe 3 games' time.
It's just interesting looking at that table. Going off a bit, but City, Arsenal, and United in the bottom half, they're teams that are kind of struggling for their identity. They're trying to find their identity. Chelsea a little further along. They're probably just playing a little bit better than those teams. And then you got those top 4 teams have all sort of had players around together for a while. They've got sort of a clear identity in the way that they want to play. Even Palace has quite a clear way that they want to play the game. So it's that continuity, like I said before, will probably start bearing fruit across the season.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the United game. For me, surprising result. I think you said 2-1. Did you say 2-1?
I said 2-1. I said a nervy 2-1 win.
I said a nervy draw for United. I got to say, man, I was thoroughly impressed, given how well Everton have been playing, given the fact that they scored first, and just in general, Bruno Fernandes just putting on what is a virtuoso performance, a 9 out of 10, and then assisting that last one for Cavani. He could have given it off to Martial.
There was a guy at Man United, Remy Moses. He was the first player, a classy and athletic guy to play for United, and he was one of those midfielders that covered every blade of grass. His nickname, which is very politically incorrect in these days, was dog shit, because he was everywhere. He was all over the field.
Jesus.
But, Bruno was everywhere. Like, he just seemed to just move and glide around everywhere the whole game. It was funny though with Everton's goal. We talk all these days about going away from British football and playing this continental pass and move style. Shows you the value when you've got centre backs that are not that big physically, because the centre backs nowadays are shorter and more nimble than your Terrys and your Ferdinands. Just the value of a big long punt down the field from Pickford. Calvert-Lewin, who can jump into the air and spend more time there than Michael Jordan, just sort of jumped in the air, flicked it on over Lingard, and then the goal came from that. I don't really want to see lots of teams going to that strategy, but it does show that there is some effectiveness to that. And we've kind of lost that goal out of English football, which is not a good thing or a bad thing, but it's interesting that we spend so much time talking about the way that teams play, and they scored a goal from a very long punt from the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and notable mentions in this game from United's end. From Everton's end, I thought Alan has. I didn't think he'd come over and play well at all. He's this kind of like Lee Cattermole character, tucks his shirt in, very fierce, very aggressive. But he's a very good player, and I always thought he was in the Italian league and in the international stage. I never thought he would transfer that to the Premier League. He played really well, but from a United perspective, Fred and McTominay are just showing. I like what Ollie's done, and he's taken the Fergie approach and gone like, Pogba, 100 million, who cares? He's not playing. He's not playing well. He's not playing. Is he good? Like, there's price is that equivalent to talent? I mean, obviously not. Fred and McTominay for me have been great the last few games.
They do balance each other quite well. McTominay is quite a calmer character, where Fred's sort of twitchy and jumpy, and right foot, left foot. They're both not pure number sixes. They seem to like playing there sometimes and letting the other fella go, and they just have a good partnership. And sometimes football's about that. You don't necessarily have the best players, but you find the players that play the best together. And generally, footballers at that level should find a way to play with each other. I have said before that Pogba is quite adaptable, and I think that he is. But there's a difference between being adaptable and a difference between pushing yourself to play in a certain way. And he just, particularly with Fernandes coming in, after the COVID break, they seem to find a way to play together, but he just doesn't quite have that. And I don't know if it's a hangover from having COVID or whatever it is. You just hope they find what it is that is causing him to not really play anywhere near his best and become a 90 million pound bench player. And just it gets over that, because the only way he's going to play Bruno, I think now, is if they play sort of the 4-3-3 with the sort of one defensive midfielder and the sort of the free eights like City play. That's the only way he's really going to get game time. I don't think Solskjaer's that keen to play him. If you look at that team, the team sheet that United had,
actually,
Solskjaer would not put him in for Fred or McTominay. That's just not going to happen.
And I mean, look, just the way they're going to go, because they have a couple of tough games coming up after the West Brom and Istanbul. If they go and win Istanbul, that puts them in a great position to rest for PSG, rest for Leipzig, and just take the league, get more points in the league. This game is so important, not in its difficulty, because it should not be a difficult game. Like technically,
they need to go out there and pound the Istanbul. The thing is, so they'll be on 9 points there. I think Leipzig will be on 6. So the result of that Leipzig PSG game is also very important. So that
you're hoping for
it's going to be very important.
Yeah, you're hoping for a draw or a PSG win in that game, in the Leipzig PSG game.
And at the same time, if PSG and Leipzig win, all the teams will be in the same number of points. So it's very crucial that next.
And you don't want that. You need to hammer Istanbul as well, because you know PSG is going to go there and hammer them.
Yeah, you got to send a message.
And the goal difference as well. And then look, United play Southampton in the next few games, Southampton and Man City, and they got to get those points against West Brom and West Ham. So
I know we won't talk about Southampton in detail, but I just wanted to say they played like a team that was top of the table. They swarmed Newcastle. They were
first goal.
The amount of times Newcastle lost the ball in their defenders and just were dispossessed, and Southampton came forward. Southampton. Southampton came forward. They were like it was like watching an army charge. Like they just flooded forward with numbers and verve, and they really had a massive crack. And well done to them. I a little bit of a sleeper. I didn't really notice them. I thought Southampton. I thought Danny Ings, and that was about it. And they've really gone. And I think it's the first time in Premier League history they've been top of the table. I think they were once first in the division for a while. So congrats to them. They've really done very well there.
Yeah. Just on that point, I thought the first goal with Southampton was a beauty. Che Adams scoring that goal. It was kind of this half volley that kind of just fizzed into him, and it was just a reaction volley from about, was it just inside the box? It was about 12 yards out. It was a really good goal.
Yeah.
And if you look at the possession, I'll just kind of read it out for you. They had 61% possession. They're keeping the ball well, 8 shots against like a tricky Newcastle. I don't want to give them too much credit, but at the same time, fair play, like they're doing well. And it's all about form at the end of the day, and their form has been good. Top of the table, just to quickly read out. Do you have the table in front of you there?
Yeah.
That's all right. I got it. So Southampton, 5 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, 16 goals scored. compared to Liverpool's 18, Chelsea's 16. That's not bad. 12 goals conceded against Chelsea's 10, against Villa's 9. It's not bad at all, man. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll just see if they can continue this momentum and not drop off.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the next game you said? Wolves and Leicester. Oh yeah, champions elect maybe.
Yeah.
Stop the count. Stop the count.
I just wanted to comment first in that game about that penalty.
Which game? Sorry.
Leicester Wolves. The penalty which they ended up winning from. The
Yeah.
In cricket, they often say, so a fast bowler will come in from 20 meters away and bowl at 90 miles an hour. And they often talk about the batsman has about 0.2 of a second to pick up where the ball is and about 0.2 of a second to react to it.
Yeah.
You wonder if it takes a human being 0.2 of a second to actually notice something and react to it. That particular goal and the goal Liverpool conceded I think the goal Salah scored. Sorry.
Oh, you're talking about?
Kyle Walker. Sorry, the goal. Yeah, there was a goal in the penalty in the Liverpool game, which was a bit of a reactionary.
It was Gomez's handball, you mean?
Yeah, Gomez's handball. Sorry, that's the one I was referring to. But
yeah.
The thing is, they talk about ball to hand. It almost seems now as if ball to hand doesn't exist. If I kick the ball into your point blank range and your hand is somewhere near where the ball hits, the ball hits your hand somewhere, it's just a penalty. Yeah. They seem to have forgotten about ball to hand. The point of ball to hand is that it actually takes the mind and your eyesight and everything, just put that 0.2 of a second to actually figure out what's going on. And
keep going, Shyam.
I don't think that those players actually have the ability to react. There was one in a Tottenham game, I think Eric Dyer had conceded a penalty where it just sort of bounced up into his hand. He just doesn't have the time to react to it. So
yeah,
they might need to just completely make clear on the rule that maybe it's just if your hand is against your body and it hits your hand, that's fine. But if it hits your hand and your hand's anywhere away from the body, then it's a penalty. And what complicates it further is they've changed the rule around handball. So in the past, if it hit your arm, that's handball. Yeah. But now there's the point of the arm till about where your sleeve would be on a short sleeve shirt. That's actually, it's either hit that and it's not handball, it's legitimate. So there's this really big gray area and the interpretation is very strict. So I don't know how much latitude players are getting to react on instinct, and you should be creating rules to allow players to react on instinct. It should. Yeah. That's actually the kind of the point of making.
Just to your point, I'm just going to show it off here real quick, if you don't mind. So yeah, just kind of get back there again. Can you see that, Shyam?
Yeah, I can see it.
So just one more time. Yeah, look.
It's literally. But you wonder how much time he's had to react.
And if you see,
to pick it up.
You see, he's already going that way.
He's trying to get out of the way.
Yeah.
It isn't enough time to get out of the way.
A bit of vindication for Liverpool in that sense, to not get the
In NBA they say like when a player gets fouled and he doesn't think it's a foul, and then the player misses the shot, they say the ball don't lie.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, De Bruyne was kind of does that. The ball don't lie.
All right, so coming up to the Leicester game, top of the league. They've done it again. Look,
they've got more points at this stage than they had when they won the title.
Look, I've said this every week, Shyam. Vardy scoring. Vardy scored again. Yeah, look, they haven't. You are right though. You are right when you say. I want to say something about Johnny Evans though. He's left United. He went to Sunderland first, and then he's gone to Leicester, and he's become for me one of the best centre backs in the league. Absolutely, very cultured centre back now. He's about 32 or 33. Yeah. In that kind of range. He's playing his best football. 32. He'll be turning 33 soon. Playing his best football, and I think he's been like that spine that they have, where they have Schmeichel, again one of the best in the league.
He did really well. He made at least 2 big saves that I can remember in that game.
Tillmans and Mendy, who can run all day. Vardy. And you have these two guys, Pratt and Madison, who are like a Grealish type players.
I want to see how tall Mendy is. He's a midget, man.
Is he a big boy, is he?
No, he's short.
He's a little Kante.
He's smaller than Kante. 1.67.
He's a Makelele type, yeah.
1.67 is 5'4" or 5".
Yeah, 167.
which is miniature. Like Patrice
5'4",
Evra was
5'5".
5'9", and he would look small
Yeah,
compared to his teammates. So
yeah.
5'4". He was next to a Wolves player, which I think was that number 32 there. I can't quite see the name, but
He was a giant.
yeah, looks a bit Dutch, that name. So
Yeah,
probably very tall.
yeah,
188 is that?
yeah.
Yeah. So they were standing next. I think they were playing opposite each other a lot, and you could see them standing next to each other. And Mendy kind of looked like the little adopted son. It was quite funny.
And if you just look at the basic stats, very even game. So I guess any team could have won that one. I saw a lot of the game. So I thought Wolves played fairly well. Pretty standard Wolves performance. Kept the ball well, moved it up well. They're good side.
They played better in the second half. They came into the game quite well. Yeah.
Yeah, as they shown quite well, like the last two seasons when they played, like the two wins against United. They just kind of take over in the second half because they have players who can do that. Who naturally want to keep the ball, make the other team run. That's exactly what they did. However, they just needed they when they were tired, they had a run of easy games which they couldn't get through. And now that they're not fatigued, they're going through hard games. It's just a bit of bad luck that Wolves just not getting a bit of the run that they need. But just looking at who they play in the next few games.
What do you mean by that? Wolves not getting the run that they need?
See, when they were not tired, like i.e. when they started the season and they should have played better. They should have, beating Stoke. They should have been West Ham. Fulham by not a lot. Wolves, and you see they should have got more points at the start, a couple more games.
Yeah, they had
and then now
same thing that
now
United and City had. They had where they didn't really have a break. I think they got to the quarterfinals again and lost to Sevilla in the Europa.
Yeah, exactly. And now that they probably have a bit of momentum, they're going to play Southampton, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Chelsea, and Tottenham, and then United in the next 10 games. That's not easy, man.
No, that's not easy at all.
That's probably the hardest
one. I think Arsenal, Liverpool, Wolves, Villa, Chelsea, and then
Tottenham, United, and then Everton.
So Everton. So what's that? Next 10 games, they're playing probably the 7 teams you would put at the top of the league.
Yeah,
7 of the 8 with Manchester City. Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit of bad luck. Just quickly looking at Leicester before we get to the Leeds game. I think they have a fairly easy run for the next few weeks. Besides Liverpool, which they could fully well take points off.
They will like playing that game after the international break. I think that will suit them. Yeah.
They have less players playing internationally as well, so they could. I mean, look at that Premier League run, right? Leicester, Fulham, Sheffield, Brighton, Everton, Tottenham, United. Like they fancy themselves, man. Like they could fancy themselves staying on top coming to Christmas.
Apart from Liverpool, the 3 games after that, they would expect to win that, and that takes them to the middle of December.
And then they could easily get 4 points off United and Spurs.
No, yeah, definitely. And they'll fancy themselves against Everton as well. Liverpool probably the one game that they'd be genuinely worried about, but at the same time, playing them right after international break plays into their hands.
Absolutely. So yeah, look, fair play to Leicester. Looking at the table, I'll just quickly read it out. So, won 6, lost 2, 18 points, 9 conceded, 18 scored. So they're doing well. They're going to keep up the momentum. Would you put it out of the realm of possibility for them to win the title this season? Do you think, realistically?
If Liverpool, Man City, despite what the table says, are still the top 2 teams in England. If one of those teams is going to have to go on a run, probably looks like Liverpool more likely. If those 2 teams don't go on a run, it's anyone's to take. And I think Leicester has as much a chance as anyone else.
Okay, because I would have said Spurs over Leicester.
Yeah, I was thinking Spurs. I was thinking Spurs would get there. I've not really watched a lot of Spurs games, like in detail. And I think just having Bale there is a bit of an X factor, but it might be a good or bad X factor. Having said that, I want to jump to that game since you mentioned it. Harry Kane, 150 goals for Tottenham in the Premier League. Alan Shearer had 260 in his career. 150 is phenomenal. And how old is he?
In 200 games, right?
He's the second quickest after Shearer to get to that mark. So that's absolutely phenomenal. That means he's quicker than Henry.
Let me just.
He'd be quicker than Aguero. He'd be quicker than Henry. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. 1 second.
Or maybe he's the second Englishman after Shearer.
Maybe 218 games. That's a 2 to 3 ratio. No, sorry, that's a 3-4 ratio.
Yeah, just about 3-4. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, fair play. We talked about Vardy last week, and I very ludicrously brought up him being as good as Shearer, but you can have that discussion about Kane. If he goes on to win a Premier League title, even if he doesn't, he's gonna score 300 goals, in my humble opinion. And
They'll
even
have
when,
a statue of him outside Waha Lane or
White
whatever
Hart
it
Lane,
is now
yeah.
when they're done. Yeah.
As Arsenal fans say, the toilet bowl stadium.
Call the ball, yeah.
No, fair play. It's hard to see anyone. It's interesting that he's become, that we talked about last week as well, that he's gone from being a poacher to being a bit more of a baller. Like you see him coming in deep, getting the ball. I wouldn't say baller. Like there's a cross between Rooney and Paul Scholes where he can pick out a 50-yard pass, but he can also bang in 6-yard
He
crosses
seems
into
to
a
play that way.
goal.
He drops into the 10 and gets the ball, turns and finds wide players, which is why Bale is such an important acquisition for him. So he drops into that 10/false
He
nine,
doesn't just drop into the 10, man.
and then
He's
knocks the
dropping
ball
into like the
around,
6.
and then runs into the 9 spot. Yeah.
He's dropping into the 6, man. Like he does what he wants almost, you know.
Mm.
Very very cool to see Tottenham. It's not cool. It's very cool to see Mourinho that he still has it. In the way he's taken Tottenham, put a bit of a shine on them, got Reguilon in, got players performing. Yeah,
It took Mourinho a while to really recover from Real Madrid and the politics of that role.
Yeah,
he was not a good fit for Madrid because Madrid like being the royal. Real means royal, right? So they like having that royalness to him, and he's a dirty street fighter, Mourinho. And I say that in a complimentary way.
He said. I mean, he says it in the Tottenham documentary.
And he's now with a team that has a point to prove and the ability to prove it. It's a really, a lot of people question whether that's a good fit or not. It's looking more and more like a good fit for him.
Yeah, and he says in the documentary as well that Spurs documentary only good guys never win, only cunts win. Let's be cunts. So it just kind of gives you a bit of insight into what he's thinking. Can we finish up here on the Arsenal game? We just talked. Happened last night. Amazing win, and you said it, a thumping. Okay, I was going to get the screen up here.
They didn't really create very many chances at all, Arsenal. They played quite poorly, and Villa could have got a goal in the first minute. Barkley was just in the wrong spot. Really would have been a really good goal in the first minute. Then I think they scored their first around the 25th minute or the 30th minute, something like that, and then just ran away with it in the second half. It's interesting because we talk about Arteta coming in and creating his own style, and when you're school, you go through this. He's probably the only guy I know that's gone to the school of Wenger and Guardiola. So he's got a good footballing aesthetic way of playing. But when you look at, they beat City, they beat United, they beat Chelsea. There was really games where they didn't create a lot of chances, but took their chances quite well. So they're not really clicking in the sense that they're going forward and creating really good chances. Even in the Villa game, I can't think of anything that was more than half a chance for them to score a goal. Shots that flashed past the posts or straight at the keepers and all of that sort of thing. Whereas Villa played some proper football, man. I thought of Grealish as a good player. My estimation of Grealish is gone up to being a very good player. He was quality in that game. He's got a little bit of a call about him. He's got big hips and he's got big shoulders, and he can. There's the goal that I think he sets up. He knocks the guy off with his shoulder and then just keeps going and lays the pass. That's like he'd run like from 10 meters in front of the box. The keeper rolled it to him and then he went on a run. That's strength. And I always thought of him as a fairly sort of pretty player with his haircut and everything. But
the problem with Arsenal right now is I think the problem with Arsenal right now is like when good teams they have a plan and you have a strategy to go into a game. And I liken it to like a UFC fighter, like a John Jones, when the plan isn't going according to plan. You are a team that is creative enough, that is fluid enough to plan as you go, or a fighter that's good enough. So if you see, John Jones is a great example where you've seen in moments he's losing the match in what is his game plan, and he just does something which is completely out of the blue, something he's never done in the training ground. And Arsenal, even United have a bit more of that, I think, than Arsenal do. If you talk about two teams in similar moments in their transition, but Arsenal don't have the ability to go beyond the plan at the minute. That's my kind of view of it. when you have a team that's going very direct at you, and let's say Arteta set up in this way, but it was the wrong way to set up, they don't know how to go beyond that.
And that's a sign of a team
does that make sense?
Lacks confidence and lacks leadership.
Leadership, yeah. I think Arsenal do have characters, but lacks confidence for sure. For sure. United's the other way around, where they lack leadership, but they have confidence. Oh, wait, hold on. United have the confidence, but they don't have characters on the pitch, in my opinion. They only have Fernandes. I don't really consider. I think Maguire is so in his own head.
Maguire's very introverted.
Yeah, which is why it's gone very similar ways for Arsenal and United this season. They're both lacking either one. But you could take almost any of these players and put them into City or Liverpool, and they take them. Thomas, Aubameyang, Saka, Tierney, Leno. They walk into any top 4 team. But they're definitely lacking a lot of confidence to go and do something that's beyond the manager's plans. You saw that with United when they played with Van Gaal. They didn't have a plan B because there was only such a rigid plan A that they were just side passing for 45 minutes.
It's interesting because Guardiola would often, he drills the players so much in terms of their plan, but he'd often tell them at the same time, my job's only to get you 2/3 of the way down the pitch. When you get to the final third, it's up to you. And so they're very strict on position until they got to about 20 to 30 meters out from goal, and then would start moving in quite individualistic ways, which is very hard to stop. And Arsenal seem to lack that. They seem to be drilled well by Arteta, but that point where you go from having your own to following an idea to having your own idea, they're struggling with that.
Do you get that out of Lacazette 31, Willian 32? Do you get that out of people just out of their prime? I don't think so, man. You get that more out of people like Grealish and Barkley and Ollie Watkins, who in the prime of their football. They got another 5 years to hit. I think Grealish is going to be in his prime in about 2 years. Like, Lord knows how good he's going to be.
Grealish is quite young, isn't he? The 23.
Yeah, he's 22, 23 kind of thing. Yeah. You're not going to get and you have to understand, Grealish is a Birmingham boy, Villa fan. He's captain. He's done it. He's done the Rashford route, if you will, or the Steven Gerrard route. Sorry, if you will. They're a good side. They're going to have ups and downs, Villa, this season, but this was huge win. Show you feel like they're back to that 1999, 2002 kind of Villa under Martin O'Leary. Yeah. Any more thoughts on this game?
Gregory, was it?
Sorry?
I thought the manager was John Gregory. I might have that name wrong.
O'Leary, I'm thinking of... Sorry?
O'Leary was at Leeds. He was the manager when Hewell and Viduka were at Leeds. David O'Leary. I'm talking about just after that. When O'Leary took over Villa, they were still quite good. In the years of Juan Pablo Agbonlahor was coming up, and there was a problem. And then when Martin O'Neill took over, there was a problem with the board, and he just left. And Villa's kind of gone to shit for a while. And then it looks like the thing I'm actually curious about. In England, it's the second biggest city, and they don't really have a football team. Like if you look at London, London's got lots of obviously very strong teams, and Liverpool and Manchester, obviously. Villa was a dominant team when the Football League started, but they've not had a lot of success. It's interesting because it's the second biggest. They call it the second city, so it's interesting that there's not been a sort of a very strong team that's come out of it. Even like Yorkshire as well. Yorkshire is a very strong city in England, but it's only really had Leeds.
I wonder if John Terry has a big part to play in this kind of mentality they have in the last 2 seasons. He played 3 seasons ago. Last season he was the coach because he said he's not going to play against Chelsea, and then this season he's kind of taken a bigger role as the assistant coach. I think he was just the coach last year, and he's now assistant coach. Now you're seeing Tyrone Mings, Barkley, Grealish, Ollie Watkins look up to John Terry, one of the greatest to ever do it. It's hard to believe it's nothing. He has got nothing to do with it.
It's interesting that I like his progression. He's not like a lot of those older players just going straight into the manager's seat. He seems that he's been a player coach, then a line coach, sort of like a defensive coach, and then assistant coach. He seems to be building, you know what I mean? Which I like. No. He's not rushing to be a manager.
But also saying that not everyone's built for that. Maybe he feels he's an assistant manager.
You don't think John Terry will manage a team?
I don't know. Like who would he want to manage?
I think he would definitely manage a big team. And I see him managing Chelsea someday.
Do you think it's a case of him knowing he's not ready yet? Is that what you think it is? Rather than
being
jumping
realistic about that, rather than growing into the role, he wants to be ready and then move into the role. Like guys like Lampard, for example. Like I'm not here to diss Lampard or anything, but he did one season before he went into Chelsea, which was they finished fourth in the league last year, and well done to him. I think though he's been put in the role to grow into it, as opposed to being like Mourinho, the special one coming from Portugal with the Champions League. You know what I mean? So I think Terry's taking that route where he wants to get his grounding and he wants to have some time and experience. And maybe when he saw Lampard take that role, or knew at some point Lampard would get it, he just made that decision. But I think it's a good decision.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, your player of the round, Shyam.
Player of the round.
Manager.
I'm very tempted to go with one of the United players, but I try and stay away from the United players because of my bias.
Sure.
I'm going to go with Jack Grealish. I thought he was awesome against Arsenal. He went up in my estimations quite a bit. And Kasper Schmeichel played very well against Wolves. Notable mention.
Yeah.
There was one thing I saw Kasper Schmeichel do that I've never seen a goalkeeper do. A player in a long time. A player shot from outside the box and he caught the ball.
His dad used to do that.
He caught the ball. It sounds stupid, but they don't do it anymore. They fist it away. He took it and caught it clean as a whistle. But yeah, my player of the round, who went up in my estimations, Jack Grealish from Villa.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I was gonna go with Brendan Rodgers myself. I think Leicester have arrived, and it sounds like it's a bit obvious. Like they were good. No, they were good. They were always good, but they've arrived in that.
They've gone from goodish to very good.
If they go and win the league this year, people will go like, that's an upset, but as much as an upset if Tottenham go win the league. Like it's not so far fetched. They've arrived, man. They've like Rodgers had, when he came over, they criticized him for leaving Celtic halfway through and all that kind of stuff. But he's made the right decision.
Think about it this way: they finished fifth. They were one win off third. The top two teams have fallen off. I mean, why can't they drink?
The third place team has fallen off as well. Yeah.
In this chaotic season, they have the best structure and the best sense of identity of any team in the league.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Fair assessment. All right. On that note, you done? You have any more thoughts, Shyam?
Nah.
On the weekend?
Oh, good. International break now. So,
international break. We will put a video up on Thursday. Just discussing whatever comes to mind. No pressure there. Maybe some international football discussion if it's any exciting games, which I doubt so. But anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. We got a 5 Yard Pass podcast. My name is Suddy. This is Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys.